Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second episode of Primarily Casuals, where we discuss the recent gaming trends, subjects, and topics from a uniquely casual perspective. I am your host, helloazae, alongside my best friend and co-host, the Renaissance man, Kevin Badali. Kevin.
Best friend? Cool, I didn't know this.
A friend. A casual acquaintance.
I feel like I just...
Some guy I met on the street I just kind of stole.
So you have a low bar for what you call a friend.
Yeah, apparently. Kevin, how are you?
I'm doing well. You know. Yeah, it's still light out, so it's going well. The day's young.
You can't really tell from in here, can you?
Yeah, just right up there.
Yeah, the ledge is high up there. Very high up there, for that matter.
I'm sorry if you're too short.
You're about the same height as I am. You have no right to say anything else.
I hold myself higher than you.
You tried to hold yourself higher than me.
And succeed.
Going on your toes isn't exactly succeeding very well.
I'm well balanced.
Platform shoes don't help either.
Surprisingly comfortable.
Those are dancing shoes as well?
No, dance shoes have heels. They aren't platform.
3-inch heels.
No, actually, 1-inch
just yours.
Heels and 2-inch heels, not 3-inch heels. Actually,
so
half an inch and an inch.
So yours are custom made?
No, it's just a standard for male dance shoes.
Kevin, how long has it been since I've seen you?
Not long enough.
That's true. Oh my god! Wow, what an asshole. Okay. Have you done anything new on that laptop you bought recently? That new...
Yeah, so I bought a new laptop, a gaming laptop. The day after I bought it, the Steam summer sale happened. Oh, yeah. And I bought, like, a bunch of games.
You bought Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
I remember. Finally, it's like, hey, Jeff, have you heard of this game called Stardew Valley? Hey, Kevin, it's 2017. How haven't you heard of Stardew Valley?
Because I didn't have a PC.
It's available on Mac. I had it on Mac. I could barely play it on my Mac, but that's besides the point.
And I got all these other games. I don't even remember what some of them were.
Ori and the Blind Forest?
Yeah. Transistor.
That was okay.
A couple other games. Banished. Exiled Brothers or Brothers Exiled.
Did you try that? I heard it was really good.
I haven't tried it yet. And
you tried any of the games you play besides Stardew Valley?
No, because here's what I did. I bought all those games and I was super happy and I downloaded them all to my computer.
And then you didn't touch it.
Then I downloaded an N64 emulator and been playing Majora's Mask ever since.
Oh my god. What are you doing?
I'm playing Majora's Mask.
Oh my god.
Hey man, you can't bash the classics.
You buy a new laptop and you decide to play an N64 emulator.
Pretty much.
You have a top-end laptop, Kevin. You can play games at 60 FPS in this beautiful, like, modern
but
graphical
I can play
settings.
Majora's Mask and make it look beautiful too.
You're not doing
really.
that though, are you? You're just playing
no.
Oh my god.
Yeah, pretty much. I think the next one I'm going to download...
It'll be a PS1 emulator.
It's Ocarina of Time. Or a GameCube and play Wind Waker.
I played Mario Sunshine on the...
I've played a Mario game since my last Mario Party adventure.
Mario Sunshine's actually pretty fun. Surprisingly. It's very, very lighthearted.
Because you can actually see the sun.
Yeah. I mean, technically all the Mario games are very vibrant.
That's fair.
Get a Wii emulator.
Hey, actually, no, Mario Parties were actually very dark.
You beat the crap out of your other friends in, like, small little mini games.
I know, it was great.
That's probably why you like Mario Kart.
I don't know. What was the last Mario Kart? I played Mario Kart 64.
That can't be the last game you played. That's impossible because...
Mario ones?
Mario Kart?
Yeah.
We used to play them on the 3DS on the bus.
On the trips. You guys. I watched you guys play them.
Actually, I never played them. I didn't play them either.
There you go. So neither of you.
I've played the games, but I didn't play them together with them.
Fair point. All right.
Okay. Kevin.
Da.
Let's keep this short.
Are you insulting my height?
That could be my height too, but...
You don't have a high opinion of yourself, so it's not insulting you.
Yeah, well, I guess when the bar's low as the dirt. The bar's set on the ground. I can't really go any lower than that. Kevin, here's the topic of our show for the month of August 2017.
Cool.
Number 1. Video game trailers.
I hate them all.
End of the topic. Okay, bye. Video game trailers often give consumers a look into the product they're purchasing. They're commonplace in the medium, and it's practically impossible to promote a title nowadays without one. Kevin, how often do video game trailers influence your purchasing decisions?
Well, I think, they have a substantial influence on what I buy. I mean, I put a lot of stock in them. Granted, because they're selling the game in a way. Like, I put a little more stock, evidently, in trailer than reviews. Unless, of course, it just gets absolutely terrible reviews. Then it's like, okay, maybe I shouldn't play this. But no, like, I like to, when I see a trailer that is good, I like to have some hope in it. Until that hope has been crushed multiple times over the past 5 or 6 years.
Okay, so you're the type to actually wait for a review and then watch trailers, wait for a game to come out first, right? Because that seems to be your pattern, what you're telling me.
Not when it came to Mass Effect Andromeda, sadly.
Here, move this over so I can hear you more, sort of.
He actually wants to hear me.
Unfortunately, pay attention to you is part of the damn thing, so part of the damn gig. But anyway, yeah. Mass Effect, well, then again, Mass Effect's release thing had a whole very interesting release cycle because it was pretty much announced by November and promised to be released in like 3 months later, and they just threw a slew of trailers and everything at us in the next 3 months.
That's fair. And like with those trailers, it was interesting because some of them were, I don't know, you were split on them. You either hated them or you loved them, and some people who hated them started to love them, and vice versa. I was of the camp who I hated at first, but then it grew on me just because it was a different kind of thing than the original Mass Effect, which was kind of nice. But that all kind of went to hell.
You're still mulling over Mass Effect even now. Move on, man.
I spent $90. I will not move on.
Did you actually? No.
$80, whatever.
80.
Whatever it is.
God forbid we spend 90, yeah.
Yeah.
One day, Kevin, one day. It'll happen.
You know what they should come out with? They should come out with a Gundam game. Like
they
Mass
do
Effect.
come... Oh. No. Why? That'd be weird.
Like the freedom of Mass Effect with, like, the Gundam world. I don't know how that would actually go. I love how stumped you are now.
I can't really see a good, decent RPG system for that actually could exist in the Gundam world universe.
Imagine Star Citizen, but instead of your ships,
to be fair, I don't know
Gundams.
enough about Star Citizen.
It's great. I know absolutely nothing about it, but it's great.
Why are you telling me? Oh my god!
Trailers, man, trailers.
Yes,
trailer
video
for
game.
Star Citizen is phenomenal.
I haven't seen the trailer for Star Citizen.
That's your fault.
Yeah, sorry, I'm apologizing. I'm having a breath of knowledge in video game trailers the same way.
Then why are you here?
Because we're casual, Kevin. We don't have to be hardcore. Anyway.
Okay.
Video game trailers are influencing your purchasing decisions, so...
Nah, I don't know.
They hold a fair bit of weight, but you seem to be the type that waits to watch the trailers after you've seen the review.
Yeah. Like, there'll be the odd game where...
So trailer won't drive hype until it's released.
I'll have hype, I'll have vast amount of excitement for it, and I'll have hope for it, and I'll reserve my judgment for a game until after it's released, but that also means that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to go out and buy it the day it drops.
Day one, okay.
For the most part.
I'm of a different mindset sometimes, because if a trailer is able to sell me on what its product is like, the story, the gameplay, the mechanics, I am almost guaranteed a day one purchase. So, like, if there's a game I'm anticipating from a series that's beloved, like for me it was Persona 5, I'm clearly going to buy the game. I don't need to see too many trailers. Although I like them, I'll clearly get them, just because I know what this game or series is like. If it's a new IP, then it's a whole different story, because I have to weigh in heavily, because the studio developing could be bad or good. The way the publisher is producing the content, like the trailer itself, could be bad or good. It's really a hit or miss, and I really pay real close attention to the trailers and whatever news they release. So it's trailers on top of whatever news is produced or given.
So how about that No Man's Sky trailer?
No Man's Sky. That was a whole other issue, you know.
We're not gonna get bogged down in that. I think we got bogged down in that last time.
No Man's Sky. That's a whole other thing. We got bogged down in Mass Effect.
Oh yeah, that explains it.
Yep. Okay, just keeping that in mind, I want to just reiterate that there's generally two types of video game trailers. There's a cinematic type, where it focuses on pre-rendered cutscenes, pretty much like cinematic movie style.
Whoa. That's not how the game's actually supposed to look? What the hell, man?
Cinematic.
I feel gypped.
Cinematic trailers and gameplay trailers.
Do you
Gameplay
need to
trailer.
enunciate that more?
Gameplay trailers.
Okay.
Gameplay trailers. Focus on the actual mechanics and core mechanics of the game.
Yeah.
How it's going to play, how whatever moves, whatever. Those kind of things.
Yeah.
Very mechanical. Sometimes maybe a small snippet of story, but not too much. Just generally held off to show how it's going to play. And again, I think we went over our particular preferences. Do you even have a particular preference when it comes to trailers? Because I know I like a certain type, but what types do you like of those two? Which do you veer towards and draws you more towards a game?
I would probably say... See, but here's the thing. I personally prefer cinematic just because, like, I like that type of thing, but... Because cinematic can sell a story, can sell the characters much more than a gameplay in some respects. Like, for example, I think some of the best trailers, or cinematic trailers, in my opinion, were Star Wars The Old Republic trailers. Those were great trailers.
Star Wars The Old Republic.
The MMO.
Oh.
Those were great trailers. And, like, even one of them that they released, what was it, less than a year ago, is considered to be just, on its own, like, a fantastic Star Wars story. So it's like, yeah. That's why I like cinematic stories, because they can really pull you, cinematic trailers, sorry, they can really pull you into the game, to the gameplay of it. Like, you look at...
a gripping narrative is more important to you.
Yeah, but...
Has a high place, at least.
But it's also, in my opinion, the thing that a cinematic trailer can really do that gameplay trailers aren't necessarily as focused on is bringing you into the world. So, for example, like, you look at the original Dishonored cinematic trailer, like, they weren't necessarily, like, they told you some of the story, you know, they essentially told you the base part of the story, like, what the entire thing's about.
I saw what you're basically doing in the game as well.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, is that they, like, were really showing you the aesthetic of the world through that cinematic game, and they could really focus on that aesthetic because it's more of a cinema style trailer compared to a gameplay, which, yes, you can still show it, but it doesn't have as much definition in some cases, depending on the game. Like, if the game has super fantastic graphics, great, but it's, in my opinion, something that really draws you into the world.
All right. I'm of a different opinion because I actually prefer gameplay trailers. I focus on the heavy mechanics because I want to see how the game plays. If I'm spending X amount of dollars, I want to see the game is playing well, or at least what I'm getting is what I'm purchasing for. I want the game to play to be exciting because I believe gameplay holds a very high standard now, and it's of the most important. How you play dictates how much enjoyment you get from the product. Of course, there are the notable exceptions where, like, there's very clearly narrative-driven games. Like, I've told you playing, like, the What Remains of Edith Finch. Yeah. I'm playing Firewatch right now, too. Great. Yeah. It's very simple, just walking around, climbing mountainsides. Yeah. Solving small puzzles. Mechanically, it's not very difficult. Yeah. Gameplay-wise, it's kind of stale, but the narrative itself is great. Yeah. And in that sense, a gameplay trailer probably wouldn't have sold me on that. Yeah. Cinematic, even just like a basic narrative trailer, that's fine, but...
See, I think it essentially needs to come down to there needs to be a good balance. If you have a crappy cinematic trailer and a fantastic gameplay trailer, you can still probably sell the game and it won't do too much damage. But, you know, it still takes a hit to the actual world.
Also depends on what type of game you're selling here.
Yeah. Compared to, you know, if you have a great cinematic trailer and, you know, this great story, but then the gameplay trailer is crap, that's not going to be very... awe-inspiring for your audience. So, like, for example, you get one of the first cinematic trailers for a PS4 game, The Order, whatever it was,
1886. Yeah,
1886. Like, that cinematic trailer was actually really cool to watch.
I remember that. Yeah,
I thoroughly enjoyed watching that. You know, it introduced you to this new kind of world that
late
was
Victorian
with kind of a
steampunk
cyberpunkish
aesthetic.
aesthetic, and that was really cool. Like I was actually looking forward to
To
that.
be fair, though, we are suckers for that.
Well, that's fair, but in terms
that's
of the
what
actual,
Dishonored was.
yeah, but in terms of the actual
Gameplay.
gameplay, like it fell
The game-
flat, from
yeah.
what I understand. I didn't actually buy it.
So
So-
what I remember of or 1886, it was a very short experience for what it was, and it was very
Well,
disjointed.
it was essentially like an interactive movie, from what I heard.
Yeah, it just wasn't enough
Yeah.
weight
Yeah.
behind the game.
Yeah.
It looked great.
Yeah.
But just didn't have the weight behind it.
Exactly.
That said, though, the studio now,
It was making another one, right?
that's one thing. I don't know if they're making another like Fallout 1886, but they've made some pretty good games since then.
That's fair.
So there's that. Okay.
Is it still recording?
Yes, it is. Good sign, right?
Are you sure?
Yes.
Positive.
Speak into the microphone, Kevin. Then we'll know. No, I'm serious. Speak into the microphone. I'm looking at it now. Go. not like
What? I can't hear you.
not like that.
Do you want to Do you want to like actually cut it now, so in case something happens, you don't lose the entire thing?
That's true.
Might want to do that.
Be right back, guys.
Cool.
And we're back.
That we are.
Wow. Okay,
I
Kevin.
like stating the obvious.
Okay, Kevin.
Duh.
So the audience clearly knows our preferences now. The one or two people listening knows that you like cinematic and I like gameplay. But clearly in both cases, there's going to be situations where both type of trailers just are not going to meet up to expectation. So
fair.
keeping in mind our trailer preferences and the types available, how do you feel when a trailer doesn't deliver or overpromises on its product?
What exactly do you mean by overpromise? Because there are like multiple things. Are you?
Okay, I'll like overpromises what's shown versus what's actually going to result. We'll go into detail into that later because we have
Okay.
very good examples of that. I made you watch 4 stupid videos, clearly. 4 trailers, 2 of each type.
Yeah.
And we're going to go over them. And there are some I believe were good and some I believe were bad.
Oh yeah.
So-
I think we both kind of agree what they are, but
I tried to make them as clear cut as possible, but
That's
there'll be varying opinions. This is a video game industry, so
um.
so let's start with the first one. The first cinematic trailer.
Well, just going back to your previous
Oh yeah,
question.
go ahead.
I think like, especially with cinematics, there is a bigger danger of overpromising.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I think with cinematics they have to be very careful in what they choose to actually showcase, because you have to realize that a cinematic is not the actual game itself. So cinematic, in terms of the actual structure of it, I feel like cinematic trailers should be built in a very specific way, while gameplay trailers have a little bit more leeway because they're showing you more of the product. It's almost like saying, it's almost like if you were to look at maybe a movie, I guess. Gameplay trailer would be, for a movie, would be like actually what we see as a gameplay as a trailer for movies now.
Yeah.
And if you're talking about a cinematic trailer, you could almost argue that they're just showing you the cover art of what the box is going to look like. Same kind of thing, in the sense that with gameplay cinematics, they're showing you what the game, what kind of like the package part of the game is going to look like. And then the gameplay is they're showing you the full-on content. I don't know if that made sense, but you get the basic
General idea.
I use movie analogies a lot.
Yeah, I
I
can
should probably
understand.
stop that.
Well, if it's relatable, why not do it?
Yeah, but if they're not good.
Do what, the movie or the game?
Uh,
The analogies themselves?
yeah.
Okay. Going back to the examples themselves, I understand. I know I should comment on what you said, but at the same time, it's more like
No,
you
that's
should.
fair.
I think it will probably cover that answer
Oh,
in
yeah.
this first example, because the first example I showed you was the story trailer,
Yeah.
which is very close to the actual launch trailer of Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
So I have my own opinion on the matter, but you have a very interesting one, and I want
Well-
you to say that first.
I didn't like it. Like, honestly, it didn't make me really want to play the game. And I think we talked about the trailer a little bit before
We started today, yeah.
we started today. Like, you've actually played it, I haven't. And you said, like, it gives away, plot points and everything, and I kind of get that. But it felt to me like it gave away way too much. Like, again, it went off the premise of not showing you the world. It didn't bring you. It wasn't trying to sell an aesthetic. It wasn't trying to sell the world or kind of the environment that it takes place in. It's trying to sell you the not even story or character. It's selling you specific plot points. Which, if you talk for any trailer, in my opinion, is a bad move. Whether it be movies, whether it be trying to launch a book, whether it be just games in and of themselves. The minute you start trying to sell individual plot points,
I just realized I look really dark in that camera.
You like having the dramatic effect.
No, I don't. How dare you? Sorry.
I'm sorry, the camera has its own disposition.
Are you assuming?
Makes you feel any better. My forehead is nice and shiny.
Gross. You're saying about the plot points?
I'm blinding you.
You're saying.
What was I saying? Before I was so
Really interrupted. Thank you.
Your words, not mine.
Oh, I was trying to do that.
But yeah, like they're trying to sell too many plot points instead of they're not selling a character. They're not selling a world. And I'll kind of talk about this more when we talk about the subsequent cinematic trailer.
The following one, yep.
The following one. That'll be able to illustrate my point a lot more. But it didn't make me want to play the game. It felt,
Okay, you see, I'm actually of a different opinion. Actually, I think it was trying to sell me way too hard on what was in the game after having played it.
And that's like, I guess when I say plot points, I guess that's what it means, that they're trying to give you too much.
Because you were saying this whole, you're saying how it wasn't trying to sell you on this, but in sense, I think it was trying to sell me on it. It was just
that's fair.
Way too hard. It was pushing a lot onto me.
Yeah.
And at that point, I felt the world felt too vivid. The world, too much was given to me, and there was no sense of mystery afterwards. Like, I wrote in my notes where it's like, oh, I want to discover. Like, it revealed a lot of the story that I want to discover on my own. Like, there's small details about the games, like plots itself. I'm not going to go into the major detail about it, but small points that were essentially discovered through the story were told in that single trailer.
Yeah.
And in playing that in hindsight, I realized, I now knew the flow of the story, how the narrative is going to develop, and how the game's going to progress.
Yeah.
And thinking in hindsight, that kind of ruined the experience for me as I was playing it, because I stopped at a certain point, because I finally reached a point in the trailer where this happens. It's like,
yeah,
I don't feel interested and motivated to play anymore, because I feel like I already saw everything happen once, and I already.
Yeah. And
the game was fun. By no means is it bad a game.
Yeah.
Because I actually enjoyed the game a lot, but it's just, in terms of a narrative push and what it needs to lead me on, the narrative needs to guide me afterwards a certain point. The gameplay can only be so much, because it is an open world title. You are left with your own devices, and that's fun and great, but something needs to drive you to finish that game eventually. It won't exactly be the gameplay, because it will be unchanging in a sense. You'll level up, you'll get to whatever point, you'll have so many items, so many weapons, so many skills. At that point, you're like, oh, I've played the bulk of the game, all I have left is the story. And what happened in the story trailers, that pretty much told me everything now is how the story in the world was going to develop. And at that point, I didn't feel interested in playing. So I felt like that was a very, very bad example of... it was a lack of show, don't tell. And it was too much show, don't tell.
And I think to kind of combine our 2 points on that, it's like a trailer should, or at least one of cinematic disposition, should essentially... This is your starting point.
Yeah.
And they point you in the direction that the story's going.
Yeah.
And they just point. That's it. But to combine your point and my point about plot points, it's more like, instead of showing us the starting point and just pointing where it could be, where it could go.
Yeah, it could go.
Because, you're pointing straight, but...
You are heading here, then you'll be eating here, and then here.
Exactly.
What they showed
essentially was like a map of, okay, so first you're going to go here, then you're going to visit this city, then you're going to go this place, then you're going to meet this person.
Yeah, you don't say they're going to visit this city, but it's about, you will eventually...
You know what I mean.
Your narrative goal will be... Yeah.
So
we both understand that degree. Yeah. So Horizon Zero Dawn, in terms of cinematic trailer, that cinematic trailer specifically did not sell you on the game. In fact, it very much ruined the experience for you. For me, after playing the game was fun, but that cinematic trailer, in hindsight, did reveal too much, and it did kind of stop my push further into finishing the game. Yeah. So I want people to keep that in mind if they ever watch this. That
Spoilers.
yeah, well, spoilers in the sense that we didn't really tell them anything. I didn't tell them what was going to happen in the game anyway.
Do you want to hear what's gonna happen?
I'm not telling you. You don't even know what happened in the game.
I don't.
Well,
I know as much.
Sort of
I know.
you know
I know as much. I know as much as
the trailer tells you.
which is probably a vast amount. Actually, comes.
Surprisingly, yeah, it kind of is a good decent.
Guys, I actually played the game without playing the game.
But yeah, pretty much. But yeah, by no means a bad game.
Yeah.
It's just that trailer was a bit much.
Yeah.
Still a successful game. Still a successful title. Just an example of a probably not the best idea for a trailer in that situation.
And on the opposite end of the spectrum.
But yeah, on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have The Last of Us 2's reveal trailer. So I am deeply in love with that trailer because
so am I.
Yeah.
Like it's a 4.5 minute or 4.5 minute trailer, and it doesn't feel that long. It doesn't feel like, okay, I'm spending close to 5 minutes here sitting down watching this. It's like I want to see more, and it's simplistic. Nothing happens in that trailer except
very basic things.
like he walks in and sees her playing guitar and a bunch of dead bodies.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all.
Yeah, concerning actual
amazing.
plot, very little is revealed because all we know is that very simple points. That's already in the trailer.
All we know is that she's
Ellie's on a warpath.
Yeah.
She's determined to get some kind of revenge of some sort.
Yeah.
Joel is there, but
Yeah.
there's a whole fan theory about he's not actually there as a ghost or whatever. That'd be a cool idea, but it's not confirmed. No one knows.
I'm not sure how much I'd like that idea.
Yeah, I know.
But
It's weird, but it'd be...
it feels like
It feels way too obvious.
It feels like
especially
cliche.
for them. Yeah, it does feel like cliche.
It
It's
really-
very tacked on.
Yeah.
And that's not exactly Naughty Dog style, given what we know of the first game.
Yeah.
But who knows? They could surprise and actually do it. And then
Like,
do a
part of
really
me
good
almost
job of
thinks that
as
I don't
well.
think this is. That I'm like 99% sure this is not what it is, but it's almost like she's going out for revenge against the people who she think killed the Fireflies or whatever, or
Yeah.
who is the
Marlene
kind of thing, and so. I highly doubt that's going to happen, but it'd be an interesting thing if she's on the warpath and wants blood, but it's actually Joel's blood that she wants without realizing it.
That also feels really obvious too, though.
It does. Like, it'd be an interesting dynamic, but it's a dynamic that's been explored multiple times.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like, they're pretty much just all that's known to us. It's just this point that she's after something, and that's it. And I think, to me, that is what's important in a trailer.
Yeah.
I don't want to know where I'm going until I actually really am having the game in my hands and experiencing it for myself when it comes to cinematic trailers. I don't want to know any more plot points. Well, too many more plot points aside from that. Like, she has a destination she wants to head to, and, like, maybe at best, next cinematic trailer will be like, here's how she's developed over the years, and here's how she's been hardened. I don't want anything about the core game itself, maybe like how she's gotten here, because it has been, 4 years?
Something like that.
4 or 5 years from where we now stand.
Yeah.
From when the game ended.
Sit.
Huh?
Sit.
True. Whatever.
But yeah, and it's also just it also kind of speaks to the studio's mentality, the ones who are marketing it, or the people who are making it.
The choice of the song was
it's
nice
kind
too.
of like a sense of, well, just speaking of the two trailers, it's very much a sense Zero. What do you call it?
Horizon Zero Dawn.
I always get that name mixed up. I
It's-
don't know. It's not a memorable name. I don't know why. Like, I can remember the zero. I can remember
They're not exactly the most
easily
unique.
string together words. But for me, it feels like the company that was behind Horizon Zero Dawn
Guerrilla Games.
was a lot more self-conscious and worries like, oh, are people going to like this? Oh, let's,
I guess that was a concern with the new.
They're overcompensating.
That might be a concern with because
yeah.
it's a new IP.
Yeah.
So
But then you look at Last of Us 2 at least, and it's literally, you can tell that they're confident. You can tell that
who these people are,
just in the company itself, you can tell that they have no doubt in their mind that this is going to be a good game, and they're comfortable holding back things from the audience so that they can be fully immersed and surprised
it's really
when
interesting.
those things happen.
It's really interesting because in other interviews after Last of Us, the first one came out, the creative director Neil Druckmann, he was like, I don't know if there'll be a story for number 2, and he's like, if there's no story there, I'm not going to tell it.
Yeah.
So clearly, I guess, given the success, they were going to tell number 2 someday, maybe. But
and the nice
who knows
thing,
what it'll be?
And the nice thing about that trailer is that in a lot of trailers, what they'll do is they'll reveal speaking technically, I guess, the inciting incident, or the thing that sends the characters on this journey. But what's interesting about Last of Us is they didn't show you the actual starting events. They showed you the aftermath of that inciting event. And it's interesting because, in a lot of games, or in some games that I've played, you know what happens at the very beginning. Like, it's no big surprise because the trailer's already, told you what's happening.
Yeah.
But in this, like, I can go and, depending on subsequent trailers that they release, I can go into Last of Us 2 and be completely unsure about how they're going to start off, which I think is much more exhilarating than actually.
Okay.
We know something bad is coming, but we don't know what that is. Compared to we know something bad is happening. We know exactly what that is. We just don't know what's going to happen after. We know what's happening after. We just don't know what that is. I find that like a fun dynamic.
Okay. Nice idea. Okay. So I think I'm going to take another quick break just now because of
Food.
I actually am pretty hungry.
So am I.
Do you want to check for food?
You want to buy pizza? Great, thanks.
What? So look, I'm a man made of money. Don't answer that.
Are you sure? Because I can answer that.
Don't answer that.
Really?
Yeah.
I kind of want to know.
Please don't. Okay, guys, we'll be back in a few minutes. Actually, you won't even know I know it, so we'll be back in a few seconds.
We're actually going to jump
Stop
forward
talking.
in time. Oh,
No more talking.
Fine, be that way.
Yep. 1.
I am being over me.
The times I try to be serious are just all at loss. Just lost with you.
You just figured that out now?
Continuing forward with our conversation from, a second ago from on camera.
Yeah.
So we finished off the cinematic. So there was examples of Horizon Zero Dawn, which didn't exactly pique our interest, and then we had Last of Us 2.
Yeah.
So that's our cinematic trailer discussion. But in terms of gameplay, though, I showed you 2 more trailers. And the first one was my example of a very good trailer. And to be fair, in my opinion, it's very rare that gameplay trailers do a very poor job. So they can, but...
So just name both trailers right now.
Okay, so both trailers, and I guess the 0.5 trailer later on I'll discuss is the good example would be the recent Spider-Man gameplay demo from the E3 of this year. And then the poor example would have been the Final Fantasy 15 gameplay trailer of last year. And subsequently Watch Dog 1's original trailer in E3 many years ago.
So
as a bad example.
So a point, I'm actually just kind of thinking about this now. Could you really argue though that the Spider-Man one was an actual trailer, or was it just is there a difference between gameplay demo versus gameplay trailer?
Generally, it really depends on what's and when the content is shown. If it's because it's a presentation setting, is a gameplay demo, but nonetheless it's released as the official gameplay trailer for the game because it's the first view of the game mechanically. Okay,
yeah, that makes sense.
Because in many situations as well, like in Mass Effect, they could have shown that the Mass Effect gameplay trailer. Yeah. They could have shown that. I think they did show that. They didn't. They could have shown that exact trailer at E3 as well, and someone just could have came on the stage afterwards like, "Oh yeah, this is what it is." No one was actually playing on the stage. They just showed this trailer as being of them playing.
So then, to point out both, I'd say, Spider-Man trailer was a really great trailer because it did kind of what we talked about previously. You know how it's supposed to introduce you to kind of character and story without going plot point by plot point. More just pointing a direction as to this. That's
cinematic.
And the gameplay trailer did a really good job. Even though you're just playing through a level, or we saw them playing through a level, you really got a sense of what this Spider-Man character is. I know Spider-Man, is already a pre-existing character, but there are different ways to portray Spider-Man. And
his origin stories, exactly. He's unfamiliar with his powers, and this one he looked very much more comfortable with who he was.
Exactly.
He was more familiar with Wilson Fisk, Kingpin, as we know from Daredevil and all that.
And so you got a good sense of character. You got a good sense of where the story would be heading, or in what direction it might be going, but not specifically what point after what point. And it introduced you to the aesthetic of the game and the world very well. It's very much a modern day kind of thing. So there's that, which makes it nice and simple, but just the fact that like you actually saw going through the city trying to stop this helicopter from going down, kind of thing like that introduced you to the world without being specifically like, here's the world, here's the landscape, here's what it's going to be like to travel around.
Here's New York. Here's
exactly.
what it's like when you swing through New York.
Exactly.
Instead of that, yeah.
It's specifically, it had a defined, the trailer or the demo itself had a defined direction, and so doing us showed us the possible direction that the entire game could take.
I felt the most important part of that trailer is that you felt like Spider-Man when you're watching that, and I would assume that you would probably, when you're doing probably in that scene, you'll probably play a little differently. And oh my god, it's only so much brighter for that part there. For Nathan Drake alone, he's brighter.
No.
Yeah, that's not a good life for you, Kevin. That's not your best side.
I have many sides.
The whitest side is not your best side.
I live as Kevin by day.
And Whitey by night.
And a darker side by night.
Somewhat off-white?
Milky.
That's gross.
I was trying to come up with something, but I'm just like, no. Beige.
No, let's not go there either. Let's not go there either.
No,
please, no.
You started it.
Anyway, yeah, continuing on with the Spider-Man trailer. Yeah, one of the best parts of that trailer was that you felt like Spider-Man. You saw how he played as. You saw how Spider-Man was going to fight, how you're going to eventually going to play as him. And I was excited because it was very familiar to me. Like, it had very simple notes of other games that were very fun before, like the Arkham style of combat, but it is a lot of ingenuity. It felt like, in a sense, almost like when you're perching above like the steel ledge and you're looking at guys from above, you still felt like Batman or like some other game where you just like sort of
felt like a
superhero.
superhero.
You felt like a superhero.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much the very big aim of that trailer and that game in general. Like, it inspired what Spider-Man should be in a game. And not to shit on Activision, who's held the IP for the last little while.
But we're gonna shit on Activision.
Yeah, I mean, when you release a game in a 9-month cycle, you're pretty much kind of shitting over an IP.
Yeah.
This is faster than Call of Duty almost.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
That did not feel. I mean, yeah, they took IP of Spider-Man, but it wasn't fun. You don't feel like a good Spider-Man game. This is what I hope Spider-Man stays as.
Yeah.
And it has me excited for a game. It almost to the point I would buy this the moment they release. The moment they have it released, I will pre-order it. Because I'm excited for this
pre-order. Oh my god.
That's a strong statement to make though. When you when a game trailer.
I remember back like years ago when I used to pre-order all my games, and a lot of people did too. But now
that's a much different culture.
Now it's like pre-ordering is a very
dirty thing to do. Dirty word.
Well, yeah, it's a very risky thing to do compared to years ago when I could feel comfortable pre-ordering 3 games. Knowing that I would.
Well, that's a whole other subject as well. We should talk about that sometime as well. Like pre-ordering, the culture of pre-ordering is like.
Well, just like also how different games are now compared to to even 5 years ago,
and the accessibility of digital games, right?
Well, yeah,
that's a whole. But that'd be an interesting topic. Another time. And
so
then that's example 1.
So then, talking about Final Fantasy 15, or was it 15?
Final Fantasy 15. The other trailer I showed you, or I guess the situation was an on-stage demo. And that was technically a gameplay trailer of sorts.
It was 2 minutes of wasted life. Literally, you see him fighting. You see the Titan, and all he's literally doing the entire 2.5 minutes is just getting swiped by this hand. And that's all he does. And then he attacks a hand when it goes down. And then it comes back up. And then it swipes across. Down, swipes across. That's it. Like, you didn't feel any progression. The other characters, your companions who, shout out their lines or whatever, they felt really just out of place for the actual kind of fight that you're in. Like, it feels like the way they're talking, it's like, oh, we should be fighting a bunch of like an army of 50 guys that we're easily just plowing through, and then I can spout this like fun little banter, but I'm fighting this massive Titan who we can't kill at all in the next while, and it's just it didn't feel good.
It dragged on. That was probably the biggest issue of that trailer.
Like my entire rant just there was dragging on.
Well, again. But the point of that trailer, and I agree with you, because that was the trailer I picked out to be a very poor example of what a gameplay trailer should look like.
You did a good job of picking a poor example. Hey! Think about that
one. It's a good example of being a poor gameplay.
I guess you said it better
in a trailer. And yeah, it just the combat felt out of place, and the very fact it was a stage demo, it didn't fit and meld well with what the game should present. The image of Final Fantasy is very different from just yes, it has the gargantuan boss fights and has the very grand scale moments. That is part of like any cinematic game has a very rich history, rich lore.
But it's also like, once again, I didn't play the game, but it didn't feel like you would spend the entire game playing these giant monstrosities. No, it felt like you would spend the majority of the game playing, on the field,
average ones. And to be fair, some of them were shown like in previous trailers, but this is Final Fantasy 15 was a very rare situation where this game was overshown.
Yeah.
So that's fair. So they needed something new. And then,
well, it's also going back to what we were talking about earlier, just in the sense of how self-conscious and not confident enough the studio appeared to be.
At that point, to be fair, you're right, because at that point, they did have to delay the game a few months later.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty shit news.
Yeah. But, what's a couple of months when you've already been waiting?
10 years.
10 years.
Theoretically 10 years, but that's a whole other discussion by itself as well, the development of that game.
That's fair.
All right. This is our 0.5 example, because I figured that Final Fantasy 15, that particular stage demo itself and particular trailer may not have been enough of a discussion point. So the next sort of the continuing on discussion point that is another trailer is Watch Dogs, the first gameplay trailer that was ever revealed for the game. And by all accounts, the trailer itself looked great. It looked really good.
You could be a really cool hacker and feel good about hacking.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the game actually presented itself, and that's how the first time we saw the protagonist Aiden, whatever his name is, hack into the system and manipulate in ways like he was able to find his target and then eventually kill him or whatever. But beyond the point, that situation was where... Oh no, Kevin, battery.
Okay.
Pause again. Back in a quick second.
And we're back. Sorry
about that. Just brief technical issue, no big deal. But again, yes, on the note of Watch Dogs, it gave us a situation where the trailer presented a very, very polished, very, very succinct experience. What happened was, actually after the release, was that we got none of that. So everything that was shown in the trailer was very scripted, and then what happened in the actual core game was nothing at all what we saw in the trailer. In that case, where Ubisoft, they overpromised or overhyped a trailer to be more than what the game actually was.
Granted, it's interesting to think, because if you compare Watch Dogs with No Man's Land or No Man's Sky, the exact same thing happened, where the trailers promised one thing and the audience got something completely different. But
on the note, make a note on that.
Eventually. Continue if you're going to make a note on that.
Well, to make a note on that, Sean Murray, the pretty much the director of that game, he went on record for many interviews where he was saying, "Oh, we're gonna have this, and we're gonna have this." But to be fair, the trailers only presented what was technically in the game, and the trailers were technically on point. This was technically the game. Just people didn't expect much of it.
Okay, I gotcha.
But like the director said, there would be more than it actually is. In that specific case, he really did overpromise.
Gotcha.
And did not deliver.
That's fair.
And okay, well, it's been now a whole year since the game last came out. It's a different machine. It's a different beast now.
Yeah.
To be fair, but going back to the Ubisoft and Watch Dogs thing.
Yeah.
That was an example of a trailer where there was pure gameplay. It was exciting to watch, but when the end result came out, it was nothing like what was shown.
Yeah, that's fair.
What was actually happening.
That's fair.
And that's an example where they can be very dangerous, because you're playing into a territory where you're kind of almost not exactly tricking consumers.
Yeah.
But you're building the most perfect way of the world, and that's not exactly how the game's going to play.
That's fair.
And that's very bad.
You want to move over so that we can actually see you in the camera?
Oh, no, I'm not in the camera?
You're kind of like your shoulders cut off.
My shoulder's cut off?
Your
How
shoulder's
horrible.
cut off. It is a very gruesome sight.
Yeah, unfortunately.
There's blood everywhere.
Oh, great. Sweet. Workers' comp?
Technically, you're my boss, so...
Shit.
Do you get my shoulder cut off and my head?
Do you sign the agreement? There's no workers' comp.
There's no agreement.
All right, to finish off on pretty much this whole segment in general. So, when I made you watch all the videos, were you in mind of any other games that you've enjoyed playing but didn't necessarily see the trailer for? A game that you had almost like no...
BioShock.
Pretense going in.
My brother said I'd like the game.
But yeah, think about that. Just thinking on that note, like how rare is it now that you actually find a game where you enjoy with knowing nothing about it? Yeah, because we're now so skeptical, right? We're
Yeah.
but the trailers have done a good job in like.
Well, yeah. I honestly can't.
In recent memory, right? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, no. BioShock is one of.
The very few, but in the beginning, BioShock was a good game.
Yeah.
Was a good game.
Granted, all the Zelda games, like back when I was
We were
a kid,
younger, we didn't-
Yeah. I've never actually seen a trailer for Ocarina of Time or Majora. I'd actually be very curious to see a trailer for Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask.
They'd only be like TV commercials back then because
I
the
know,
internet
but-
wasn't really that big. And
But I'd be
sharing.
so curious
Maybe
to
on the
like
main
see.
websites.
I don't know. I feel like this is a homework we gotta do.
Yeah, we gotta check sometime. Another time. Yep. All right. So these are some of my closing thoughts on the matter. So like, we've been discussing about the critical role of game trailers, and that some of the trailers can be pretty much make or break experiences for us because they could pretty much determine whether or not we're gonna purchase a game or not purchase a game straight up. I'm of the opinion that as a marketing tool, they're very effective. And while I hate aspects of how a game is shown in the case of Watch Dogs, but yet some games do it really well. In terms of Spider-Man, unless like the story devolves into something truly incomprehensible in a trailer, both cinematic and gameplay. Like I am loath to admit, but like I would probably still buy it, just given if I enjoy the trailer enough.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Versus where some people would be like, oh, the trailer is good, but I don't. Whereas you were like, oh, the trailer might be okay, but let's see the review.
Yeah.
I'm a little more willing to put the extra
that's
stuff.
fair. That's very fair. Like, even with Mass Effect, like I heard some of the bad reviews, but I liked the trailer, and
Yeah.
I liked the hope that something would happen that would exceed expectations.
And that's your example too. Yeah, that's true.
And it's like, oh, I should have
Disappointed.
listened. I should have listened. Yep.
We're in a very different type of environment now for gaming,
Yeah.
where it's like we are putting a degree of trust in the trailers. Sometimes they can disappoint.
Granted,
So reviewers
I'm not
are more
gonna lie.
important.
If I had to switch, I would have bought
Zelda and be like
Zelda.
done with
I would have pre-ordered Zelda. I would have bought it no matter what anyone said.
that. Yeah, that's true.
Like I would have.
One day, Kev. Just one day. Just not yet.
You're paying me to Switch, right?
No.
Bye.
Okay, so I assume those are your closing thoughts on the matter. It's just like
Buy a Switch.
yes, yeah, that's true. Buy stuff. Okay.
Only for Zelda.
Okay, that's pretty much what we have to say for game trailers.
Yeah.
So next up, we have our monthly recapitulation.
Can you enunciate that anymore?
Our monthly recapitulation, where I recap some of the biggest news, stories, and announcements that have happened in the past month that you're likely too casual to have known or cared about.
Like me.
That's why I said you.
I thought you were talking about like a collective view, like the
No,
people who are
that's
watching.
someone talking straight towards you
Oh.
because you wouldn't have known about these.
Well, this is fair.
Casual.
Game.
Number 1, Overwatch to get team deathmatch and free-for-all game modes.
I prefer that. I'm happy about that.
That's true. Well, I don't know. Blizzard announced on their official forum on August 10th that Overwatch would be getting 2 new game modes in their arcade mode, Team Deathmatch and Free-for-all. Teams would summarily beat the crap out of each other until one side or player reaches a certain amount of points. It rolled into the PTR on PC, which is the public test realm, early in the month, and it continues to circulate even now.
Yeah.
I got the source from Polygon and Blizzard, or the Overwatch official forum. How do you feel about that, Kevin, being an ex-Overwatch player?
Team deathmatch, I think I'd really enjoy. One-on-one, I'm not too.
No, free-for-all.
Free-for-all. Sorry, that's what I meant.
There's one-on-one.
Yeah, there is
1v1
one-on-one.
running.
Free-for-all, I'm not too sure about. Like when you look at games like Call of Duty, like all those kind of games that have the free-for-all matches. Actually, do they have free-for-all matches? Yeah, they do.
They still do.
It feels like
There's an even.
there's an equality to all of this.
It's all all depends on the choice of guns you pick.
Exactly, like you can play it a variety of different ways, but you could technically last a long time, but with Overwatch, like
Certain heroes, you can't imagine them being in the meta
no,
anywhere.
no,
You can't imagine the Mercy being in a free for all doing well.
And it's just like I just don't think that
composition and balance just doesn't feel right.
No, it doesn't. Especially as with what the game has always been marketed as is like good
Cooperative
versus
game.
evil. And,
Well, not even good or evil. Like
not good versus evil, but like there are always two teams. You have
cooperative play that one team has one objective and the other has another objective.
And it doesn't.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest things about Overwatch.
What might actually be interesting though is instead of a free for all, maybe do like a dual free for all, where it's like
2v2v2.
Yeah, 2v2v2v2v2 kind of thing. Then I'd be a little more interested because you're actually working in pairs. You can actually supplement how you want to play, so on and so forth, and support each other.
Team-based setting, that'd be interesting as well.
But
a free-for-all itself, there's very clearly, like you notice immediately, there's going to be very, very obvious balancing issues with certain heroes because some are going to be way too tanky that they can't take down, they're way too much damage, or we have way too much recovery on their own.
Yeah.
It's hard to balance that out,
exactly.
or do too much damage and just sustain.
Exactly.
Like Overwatch, or rather, I was very surprised they announced these modes at all because the game was always marketed as that team-based sort of experience. And having this, I mean, team deathmatch is one thing, but like free-for-all is a little out there. And even then, like again, balancing because the team deathmatch modes is only 4v4.
Yeah.
Not like a full like 6v6 or something like the same way thing. Objective-based matches are played.
Maybe they're just trying to cater to like smaller groups of friends and just people who want to play it.
Even themselves, they marketed this game as like this, so it's a very strange turn. I mean, it's okay. I mean, sure, it might be fun. I haven't heard good or bad things about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I could look into it, but nonetheless, it's now available and will probably be available on PC for the general public and eventually consoles later on once they fix out the balancing issues.
Fair.
Number 2. Middle Earth Shadow of War will have microtransactions.
Why?
In an official post on the WB community forum, developer Monolith announced that players would be able to purchase in-game currencies to obtain items. Players can purchase loot chests, war chests, and other boosters by purchasing gold through real currency.
Yeah.
These items will provide weapons or gear for the main character Talion, and war chests will provide orcs and other recruitable NPCs for your fortress takedowns, and boosters are pretty much just EXP boosts for you. This is a particularly bold move for Monolith and their publisher Warner Brothers Games, as this news has been met with fierce criticisms. How do you feel about this, Kev?
Well, I'd agree with the criticisms. It's just like
it's a very strange thing to do. Where
it's an interesting thing for microtransactions because it's like
it's a single player game.
You put it in single player, everyone hates it, but then it's like, oh well, at least it's not in multiplayer where it's not, and where it doesn't become pay to win or pay to play or whatever. Pay to win. But then it's just like, well, we don't want it in single player. So where does microtransactions really have a place?
Should they have a place? That's a better question.
In my opinion, they should. I understand, they generate revenue and all that stuff. But if you want to have pay aspects, don't make it so that it's all about winning. Like you can win off it. More just aesthetic things or like things that don't affect the core.
Very surprising. Probably the most profitable game that's all about aesthetic right now, and that has microtransactions is Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah.
Online, and it's probably making the most, and I mean in the hundreds of millions to almost a billion mark compared to every other game.
Yeah.
Like maybe apart from maybe the app games, but
But
in terms of console microtransaction games, that game is just dominating the whole field.
But
and you see probably companies wanting a piece of that pie.
Yeah, and I guess I can kind of understand for MMOs because they do take a lot of time. So I understand there that you're saving time by spending more money, but
I'm a different agreement for that, but we'll stand.
Well, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it is.
Some games do offer it. I'm not a fan of it, but.
But with this one, it's just like if you're doing that for a single player game, you're making it easier to play the game, and it's just almost like. It's like me when I was a kid going home for lunch for school when I used to play Age of Empires and be like...
the good days of Age of Empires.
Press enter and type in, all your base are belong to us. Go to the next mission, all your base are belong to us. And my brother would come home later on that day. He asked my dad, and I'm just like, great, I beat the entire Age of Empires game. I beat it. And he's like, how'd you beat it so fast? And I'm just like... I put in all your base are belong to us. And it's like, you didn't beat it then. I'm just like, yes, I did.
Oh, God. It's not like microtransactions. It's cheats.
Yeah.
That's different.
Well, it is different. But, it's that same kind of thing where...
Why would you
take some of that aspect away from it? Like, why would you take that away from the experience?
But in that example, you're choosing to do that. And this you're actually opting to pay for it on top of that, too.
That's true.
Because not necessarily, it's not a one button, enter, pay this much money to beat the game.
So what you're
situation.
saying is that my cheat was not as egregious
of an offense.
I had to think about that for a second.
Don't worry, I help you pronounce that, Kevin.
Thank
I
you.
know your
I need
vocabulary
to
is
sound
very
as smart
limited.
as you occasionally.
Yeah, I just do the occasional stutter, but that's no big deal. When the vocabulary is there, it's there. Nonetheless, Middle of Earth, Shadow of War has microtransactions. I don't personally agree with it.
No,
I don't see the need for it. I mean, it'll have it nonetheless by the end, by the when it's there.
But then again, you can also say like it's a single player game, so it really doesn't affect anything. If you don't want
that is the argument for some people. It is, but it's just it's the act of doing it which makes it eventually they'll introduce like things like, oh, you can get really good recruitable NPCs or really good weapons, and it's like you kind of want that, and sometimes they might not be obtainable to a story.
Yeah,
like that could be that could be a problem. As long as it doesn't veer toward that territory, it's acceptable.
Fair. That's fair.
But if it does start getting towards that territory, then it's just like you're just giving players who are paying an unfair advantage towards enjoyment.
Yeah. And it sets a bad precedent for future games.
I mean, other games have already done it. That's the thing. So
that's fair.
In this very traditional first single player game from this studio, from this publisher, it's very strange.
But you can argue that it's just like another form of DLC, but much more on a micro level.
Well, microtransaction.
Yeah, but we're calling it microtransactions instead
of
micro
updates.
DLCs.
We call those updates.
But some DLCs are literally just clothing packs or like 2 or 3 swords or something.
Yeah, and I've bought those before too. Persona 5, I was a sucker.
Okay, that's not surprising.
Yeah, but
Persona 5 is like your version of
Star Wars Republic.
Whatever.
Anything,
yeah.
Number 3. Horizon Zero Dawn's DLC, The Frozen Wilds, gets a release date.
Yippee.
In an official post on the PlayStation blog, developer Guerrilla Games announced that Horizon Zero Dawn's DLC, Frozen Wilds, will officially launch on November 7th of this year.
You gonna buy it?
2017. I haven't even beaten the first game, the core game yet. So what do you think?
So you're not gonna buy it?
An original trailer was shown during the E3 press conference this year. However, no release was given at the time. The Frozen Wilds follows the successful release of the game proper, which was beloved by fans and critics alike. I know we shit on the game earlier, but
no, it's a very well received game, but that doesn't just because a game is well received does not make it exempt from criticisms.
Yeah. That said, though, the location of the DLC is taking place over a dormant super volcano. Pretty cool idea.
Yeah, it's fair.
Number 4. Nintendo Switch sales continue to dominate in lieu of production shortage. In late July, IGN reported that in the latest earnings report by Nintendo, the Nintendo Switch has sold up to 4.7 million units since the console's initial release in March of this year. It continues to be a well-sought-after item from consumers, with production shortages likely being one of the key reasons it has not sold more. It's important to note that exclusive games such as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild have sold 3.54 million and 3.92 million units respectively. So basically over 80% of people and Switch owners have both those games.
Yep.
Think about that. Think about how ridiculous that is.
Literally 2 games are driving the entire market for one console.
No, not even driving the entire market, but if you own a Switch, you have these 2 games. That's the scarier part. It's like saying.
And if you think about it, if you look at PlayStation or Xbox, there's not one game you can say that.
It's like saying if you have the iPhone, 80% of people with iPhones have this app.
Yeah.
That they chose to buy this app.
Yeah.
That's a better thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
An expensive app.
No, but I'm just saying,
2 of them.
It's interesting how there's no such game that exists the same for PlayStation or Xbox.
It's very difficult because the market's so diverse here.
Yeah, I suppose
for them. But in this case, it's scary. Even there's only 4.7 million units, and there could be duplicates here as well, for all we know.
Oh no, that's true.
But still 80%. That's still one duplicate here and there makes up for nothing compared to the millions that are being.
So what you're saying is that when you buy a Switch, you're gonna buy those 2 games, right?
I am actually. How long has it been since I've actually played a Mario Kart on a console? It's so long, and it's fun.
That's fair.
And God forbid, I miss another Zelda. I can't.
So do I. One of my friends keeps sending me pictures. She just got it on the Wii.
She just what?
No, she got it a while ago, but
Yeah.
she got it on the Wii
U.
The Wii U system.
Not a Switch.
But she keeps sending me pictures of it, and it's like, thanks, I appreciate.
Not a Switch.
I appreciate that. I mean, it looks awesome. She's let me play it. She's let me play it once. And
Technically not a Switch.
Technically not a Switch, but it was still really fun. Very
Nonetheless, very successful system. Very surprised considering how poorly it showed when it was released in January. It was presented in January.
Did you ever watch any of those YouTube videos, the compilations of the fails?
I watched the entire thing. It was a fail. You don't need to show me a compilation. I just watched the whole damn thing. You want to talk about a massive fail? You watched the whole hour presentation that was shown on. Anyway.
Cool.
Number 5. Square Enix, in their latest earnings report, reported that Final Fantasy XIV subscriptions have increased from approximately 5 million to just over 9 million since the release of its latest expansion, Stormblood.
This is when he tries to sell me on
Kevin,
joining Final. I'm sorry, I can't
time,
hear you.
It's time
sorry,
for your
I
return.
can't hear you.
It's time. It is time. Come on, subscriptions have gone up almost.
So how about that Star Wars: The Old Republic?
I don't even know if it's even playing, but it's at a good place right now.
Oh yeah, and like I wouldn't, it's not that I don't want to not. Wow, I can't talk right now.
Don't want
it's
to
not.
play.
It's not that I wouldn't sign up
chance.
again or give it a chance again. It's just that like I just
don't have the time.
I just don't have time. Like
Considering
I love MMOs, but I just
considering
I
how
do not have
difficult
the
it was to fucking book you for this,
time. Well, that's fair.
Mister, I'm only available this time of this week.
It's not my fault. You work during the days.
God, that's true.
I mean, who's the one who sold out and got a job?
Shush. Anyway,
Compared to me.
yeah, it's true. But yeah, it's like a very good place right now. I'm still playing it, although a little bit less in the last few weeks. But when it came out, it was a very cool expansion. It's something you probably would have liked.
No, that's fair.
So yes, those are our 5 sort of subjects that I've covered or chosen. They've sort of missed throughout the month. Probably more coming out through the end of August. We're recording this on the 17th, 18th?
18th.
18th of August.
Granola bars that apparently expired today.
Shh, you don't have to know that.
We're gonna die tomorrow.
That's probably true. But probably at least after to look at the video up. That's probably the more important part. But yeah, that said, all the news that comes out in the end of August, I would not have known of. Probably have to keep that pattern, unfortunately, but we'll see.
That's fair.
That's pretty much it. That's all I have to say for all the stories of the month.
Cool.
Any closing thoughts for the day? Any games you're looking forward to? Wanted to try?
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Breath of the Wild.
I'm still holding out for that PC, so we'll see. Destiny 2, though. I might be playing Destiny 2.
Yeah, I don't think so.
There's really nothing else that coming out.
Battlefront 2.
That's true. Battlefront 2 is still very big on your list, isn't it? I would probably get that with you and play that. That's really it. I'm just going to keep reiterating.
It'll be the first game that you've gotten where you can play cooperatively at the same time. Remember when you got
Division, I know.
Division
No one played with
5 months after the fact? I'm just
probably
like,
half
Jeff.
a year
I'm just
after
like,
the
I'm
fact.
Jeff. I'm getting the Division. It's like, okay, I'm not going to get it. And so I played it with a couple friends, and it ran its course. Then
I can't
then
play. I don't have a PS4 by then.
I'm just saying it's funny. We never got to play Battlefront together.
No, where you can play a
even
game.
have Battlefront?
No.
Well, that explains
That
it.
pretty much explains it, doesn't it?
That explains it.
I played it with you here when I was co-op once, I think.
I think you did, yeah.
That was very
I'm
weird.
pretty sure we did terribly.
Yeah, we always will.
Great summation of our friendship.
Yeah, it sucks, but here we are.
Oh, your words, not mine.
Yep. All right, guys, thanks for joining us for today. If you're wondering how often we'll be producing our primarily casual conversations, we'll be releasing a video at the end of every month on Tuesdays. We'll be planning to cover more topics and produce more videos over time in, who knows, in the future. We're not sure yet. But for now, this is our start, and we're doing it casually. Join us next time for another conversation on Primarily Casuals. I am your host, helloazae, and the Renaissance man, Kevin himself.
See you all later.
Take care, guys. Cheers, and have a good one.
Adios.